you and I together. We're excited to have everyone here today to learn about sewing. So, welcome all of our participants. My name is Maddie Anderson, and I'm going to be helping Julie today, monitoring the chat and doing some polls. So, Julie's going to take the lead, and we're going to learn from her today.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, I'm excited to talk to you today about sewing. I really love to sew. I love to quilt especially. And I wanted to reach out and do something that the youth can enjoy. And really anybody, if you haven't been associated with sewing for a while, there's lots of reasons why we sew. First of all, let me just tell you a little bit about extension. University of Idaho Extension is here to really bring you those research-based information, articles, and programming that you can find locally, or just like today, you can find it online as well. So it makes it very convenient. We like to do topics that are targeted in the following areas. You might find programming in food production systems if you're interested in anything along growing your own food. We do a lot of youth programming. It's a big project and a big program at the University of Idaho. Horticulture and small farms, if you're interested in farming. Community development really helps you know how to get your community built and networked. My specialty is nutrition, health, and wellness, and there's just so many options there. If you really like the out of doors, you might take a look at some programming around forestry and natural resources. And along those same lines, water is essential, and we have so many lovely rivers and streams and lakes in Idaho as well. So I want to just show you a short video about University of Idaho Extension.
University of Idaho Extension is growing Idaho's economy by improving sustainable food production systems while supporting ranchers and farmers. From livestock and forages to pest and disease management, variety development, small farms and food systems, and farm and ranch management, UI Extension is helping to build a better future.
So this is a little bit about me. I am a family consumer sciences educator, and I really enjoy working as a dietitian for the University of Idaho in Extension. I love doing food safety, preservation, all cooking classes. I also love diabetes education and publishing, doing articles, curriculum, those type of things. So I'm a bit of a foodie. I've decided I don't apologize for that anymore, but if it has food related to it, I'm all about it. And I love to make sure that it's healthy and really works towards our well-being.
Awesome. And we are going to do a quick poll. If everyone could go ahead and answer that for us before we get rolling. And once you guys have answered that poll, Julie also has a poll related to our topic that we are going to also have you guys fill out. So please go ahead and get those poll questions. We use these for some reporting and tracking, so we really appreciate you guys answering the polls for us. Perfect. Looks like we have one more person getting those done. All right. Almost there, just a few more questions. All right. And now I am going to pull up Julie's questions. Go ahead and give those an answer for us. We are wondering if you guys know how to tie a knot in thread. And we also are wondering if you know how to thread a needle. All right, looks like we have one more person to answer the poll. Looks like so far we have some super smart sewers, so you got your hands full, Julie. It looks like they know what they're doing, so we can challenge them, I bet, though. All righty, perfect. And we'll hand it on over to you, Julie.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move the camera. Be back in just a second. All right. So I want to just give you a little bit of a visit for a minute, and then I'll get down to my hands where the sewing is. I just want to encourage you that sewing is a lifetime skill. It's something that we can use throughout our life, and it's also very essential for not only constructing clothing, but doing repairs and really lengthening the life of our clothing. Sometime in your life, we've all had a button fall off, or we've had a zipper need a little bit of a few stitches. We've got a hole in a pocket or in our clothing that it would save the life of that piece of clothing if we repaired it. So in order to do that, there's some simple skills that would be helpful for you to learn. And it's also a great way to do creative things. Like I said, I've started quilting, and that's really quite a joy for me. You can make decorative pillows, quilts, aprons, clothing, so many options. So you won't need a sewing machine for this project. The things that you need are a pair of scissors, okay? And you need a button. I suggested about 1.5 inches wide or about 1 inch wide button. I've got one that has 4 eyes. It's called eyes in it. And I've got one that has 2 in it as well. So we'll learn how to sew on both of those buttons. You'll need a sewing needle. I picked one with a pretty good size eye in it so that it makes it easy for me to thread it. And then 2 4-inch pieces of fabric and some white thread. So I think we're ready to start. Before you start, it's important when you're sewing to make sure that your hands are clean. We don't want to make any stains on the fabric that we're working with. Also that your area is clean. This is also where I eat lunch, so making sure it's clean before you get started. And don't be in a rush when you sew. Go ahead and take a breath and just relax. This should be something that's not only functional, but also enjoyable as well. You want to make sure you have good posture. It's really easy to bend over when you're sewing. So make sure you're sitting up straight, have a good back on your chair, and sit where there's lots of good light. I have fluorescent light in this office. Think of what you need if you need natural light as well. And when you're all done, make sure you clean up all of your items that you've got out. Make sure your threads are thrown away. It's really important because scissors are sharp and needles are sharp, that we have supervision if you're a youth, and make sure that you have permission to use scissors, and that you have supervision if a needle would be something you might poke yourself with. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so if you'll take your 4-inch square and just go ahead and set that down. It can be any kind of fabric. This is a little bit of a cotton flannel fabric. I just thought it'd be easier to work with because it's a little heavier. And we're actually going to start with the thread. So if you'll grab some thread, we're going to go ahead and pull off a pretty long piece. I've already pre-cut mine just to save on time. So we're going to take a piece that, I don't know, sometimes you can just see if it's as long as your arm. Pretty long piece. It's kind of a good judge, about as long as your arm, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to thread a needle, okay? So there's lots of needle threading tools, and I'm not using one today because I want you to learn how to do this without one. But if you'll go, it's really important that the edge of your thread be quite blunt, that if it needs to be cut, go ahead and cut it again. You don't want a fuzzy piece of thread. You want it to be pretty blunt on the end. And you're going to want to find the eye. This is the eye of the needle right here. It has an opening in it. It's called the eye of the needle. And you're going to want to go ahead and push that thread through the eye of the needle, okay? So you can see that it's gone inside one side of the needle and it's coming out the other side. Okay, so I have just threaded the needle. I'm going to go ahead and pull that thread and make it so that it's matching at the other end, okay? So go ahead and match it up at the end, right? And then we're going to learn how to tie a knot at the end of that thread. So basically this puts the thread on the needle. I'm all ready to sew and sew on that button, okay? So let's go ahead and just take that thread and wrap it around our fingertip, our pointer fingertip twice, and then just try rolling it towards off your finger, rolling it. Make sure rolling is important, and then just gather it into a knot. It should have formed some kind of a knot. Sometimes they're a little messy. I'm not really caring about that right now. If you want to see how to do that again, I'll show you on another piece of thread. So you just take the two ends of the thread, wrap it around your finger twice, 1, 2, and then just roll it off the end of your finger, rolling, 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 and it really just puts it into a knot. Okay, so that's one fast way to knot your thread. There's a couple ways to knot it, but I think that's really simple for youth. Okay, then we're going to take our button. Buttons have a front and a back. This has a ridge, and so I know this is the front of my button, and that flat side is the back part of my button. So I'm not going to worry about placement right now, but one way to do a 4-hole button is we're going to want to place it on the fabric where we want to sew it. And then we're going to take our needle and come up under the fabric and the button. And if you just kind of poke around in the back, you can kind of find out where the hole is. Go ahead and pull that through. And I'm using white thread today so you can see what I'm doing. Now there's a couple of ways you can do 4-hole buttons. You could do it at the square. You could go top to bottom and then top to bottom, or you could go crisscross. So if we have time, we'll see. We'll do the 4-hole button first, just top to bottom. So I've gone in from the back side up. See, I'm ready. It's got a knot back in there. Now I'm going to go down. So down just straight across in the other eye and pull that thread. And there you've got one time through the eyes of that button. Now we have to go to the other top one, or the one closer to you. So my needle just came through and I'm going to pull it up, and then I'm going to go down through just opposite, and now I have secured it once, going straight up and down between the eyes. Okay, now that's not enough to hold a button on for sure, and so we're going to go ahead and go where we started before, go up through the previous set of two. We're just going to go up from the top to the one closer to me. And these are pretty easy eyes because they're pretty big. The little holes of the button are pretty big. And I'd like you to do that 4 times. So I'm on my second time on the other side. If you want to look behind, it can kind of guide where your needle goes. That's okay to do. Just keep going. So this is 2. And every once in a while, my grandmother taught me that the front of your fabric should look as beautiful as the back of your fabric. So every once in a while, make sure that you're not getting any bumpy threads on the back. This is looking pretty good. And then we're going to go over to the other side and come up through. Helps to peek from behind, okay? We want to make sure we're not going to run out of thread because we do need to secure it with a knot. So I'm pretty sure this is my last time. This will be 4. I'm making it very secure. This is a large button. It's probably going to be on a coat or a jacket. And so I want to make sure I go through about 4 times. Okay, this is my last side and the 4th time. Okay. Hopefully you've been able to keep up. If not, you can watch the video again and slow it down. So now I've got my button on, sewn on the fabric, but I'm still connected in the back. So come on to the back. And what we want to do now is we want to take this needle and thread, and we want to come under those threads that are already there. There, I think you can see it better that way. So come under the threads and leave a loop with your double threads. We do double so that it's extra strong. So I've left a little loop right there. See if we can get it on the camera. There it is. And I'm going to go up through that loop with my needle. That's 1 knot. And just because I've had so many buttons come off, I'm going to do 1 more knot. So go down in your threads and come up, make a loop, come through the loop, both of those threads come through and secure it tightly. That is your double knot. Just take a pair of scissors and go ahead and just trim really close to your fabric, okay? So now we have a beautiful button on our fabric. If we were doing this for real, we would have marked our fabric with a marking tool so we had perfect placement. But that's how you sew on a button, one way to sew on a button. So we're going to have to go ahead and get to mending. We won't have time to do our second button. I have a white button that's 2 holes. They're faster, a little easier, but we're going to go ahead and get another long piece of thread. Okay, it's about the length of my arm, pretty long. Okay, and let's go ahead and mine's got a knot in one end, so I'm going to go to the other end, and I'm going to go ahead and thread it through the needle. So if you need close-up glasses, that's a good idea. I have chosen a needle with a really big eye, so I'm going to go ahead and knot it, even though it already had a knot in it from practicing. So again, just roll around once, roll around twice, and then roll it off and just pull it tight. That will give you a knot. Okay. Can you hear me okay, Maddie? I did not change the audio settings. Do you want me to do that?
No, you're good. We can hear you awesome.
Okay, thanks. All right, so I have taken, if you'll grab your other 4-inch piece of fabric and just cut a tear in it, okay? Oh, perfect, thank you. If you'll just cut a tear in it, I did mine a little jagged so I could practice going around a corner. So what we want to do is we want to also start from underneath. So I have my knotted double-threaded needle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start where the hole is, the tear is up in the innermost part of the fabric. So I'm going to start right here, okay? So just come up to the side of where that hole is. And you're coming up from underneath. You're going to come up and your knot's going to catch it, right? If you have a good knot. And I have a good knot with one of my threads, but not two. So I'll go ahead and just do it with one today. But I'm going to teach you how to do a blanket stitch because I understand I have some experienced sewers on here, but I also had a youth in my sewing class that just also demonstrated how to do a blanket stitch. So they're pretty easy and they're very secure. So I want you to come at a diagonal away from across the tear. So come at an angle across the tear. And I'm going to span the tear right now. I'm going to go back over. So what have I got right now? I've got what's going to look like a V, but I'm going to do something a little different right now. Having a major thunderstorm here, so I hope we hold in here for you. We're going to go ahead. Well, I'm changing my mind. Let's just do a crisscross mend for now, okay? So let's just keep going across the span of back and forth across the tear and approximate it so it comes back together. And I chose white so that it would show. So can you see how I'm going across the tear? Now this tear is not straight, it's really jagged. So we're just going to keep going across it. Now I'm not worried about it being small, okay? Because just for demonstration purposes, I'm wanting it to be able to show so you can see it really clearly. So far I've taken 3 stitches across that tear line or cut line. And notice that my stitches are really evenly spaced. So that just goes to show you I've had just a little bit of practice. And you should try for even stitching across. They'll just make it hold better. So again, we're going across the fabric, go down through the fabric, and I'll show you how to do it without in a simpler step. So down through the fabric, it's across again. Now I'm coming up just next to my previous stitch, so I've got even spacing.
And Julie, we're getting close on time. So do you think you could show us how you would end the stitch?
You bet. So now we're going to go down just to end the stitch. Come on the back side. Again, we were on the back side. We can see my stitches there. I'm going to go find a previous stitch and I'm going to slip this right under that previous stitch and make a loop. And then I'm going to go take my needle and thread through the loop and pull it tight. And just for time's sake, we'll just do one knot today. And there you have a mended across a jagged tear. So are there any questions? Anything I could clarify for you?
All right, if anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and ask us now. But otherwise, Julie, thank you so much for sharing with us. I personally learned how to sew on a button, so I'm excited about it. We wanted to let everyone know in our group here today that this poll that I'm launching here at the end. If you fill this out, you will be entered to win a drawing for some University of Idaho swag. So please get that filled out for us, and hopefully you guys can win some swag from U of I. I am also putting a survey link here in the message for you. Well, it looks like we do have a question. The recommendations, would you have a very large, or what recommendations would you have for a very large tear and mend?
Yeah, I would definitely use the machine. You know, these small tears would be okay for hand stitching. If you had something on a really heavy fabric, like a Levi or a jacket, I would definitely use the machine. It makes it a little bit trickier if it's a finished product. Also, you can use some type of binding agent, like an iron-on reinforcement, so that as you're sewing, it's got a lot more bulk to it and it holds it a lot better.
Awesome, thank you. And you know what, guys, I actually misspoke. The survey I just put in the chat is gonna get you entered for swag, not the poll. My apologies. So, if you guys want to get entered, please do that survey link for us. And does anyone else have any other questions? All right, I don't see any, but keep in mind, you guys, that this You and I Together series is offered weekly. So please join in next week by registering if you guys haven't done so already. And you guys can actually register for as many of the upcoming weeks as you want. We'd love to see you at them all. And I will also put that registration link in the chat for you guys. And we just want to thank you guys so much for joining us for our activity today. And please be on the lookout for other programming as well from You and I Together, from other university employees. And next week we're doing Just Relax. So you can learn some more relaxing, fun activities. And here is that registration link for you guys. Let me get it posted. There we are. So go ahead and get registered, you guys. Get that survey for your swag. And thank you so much. And thank you, Julie.